Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's weekly Sohbet and Dhikr. Hope everybody is well, wherever you're watching this from. Sorry it's a little late today. It's awkward timing with times changing, and I was out earlier because it's the Easter holidays in the UK. So it's one of those things we obviously have to take the children out for a breath of fresh air and stuff, and just cause delays. Okay, that's it all. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, we're heading into the last Jummah, the last Friday before Ramadan. We should be entering Ramadan on Monday, give or take a day, depending on exactly who people are following. Usually varies by a day or so, even in the UK, even between different mosques, sometimes in the same town. But what can you do? It's roughly going to be there. And regardless when people start, it's the month, it's the holy month that we reflect over the past year, where we are at with our Islam, with our spirituality. And we work on ourselves to try to work on those elements that need working on. And everybody's got them. We all have things we can improve upon, whether it is stopping sins that we are committing, or whether it's just generally improving ourselves in our knowledge, by learning, or by listening to people who are very wise, or all manner of different activities. Reading is good, but all the time looking at ourselves, looking inside ourselves, which is one of the problems, of course, that we have in today's world, because people generally don't do that. If you look, all of the religious traditions actually teach people to look at themselves, look in their own heart. Who am I? People talk about in the Quran, it talks about the kafirun, the munafiqeen, that means the disbelievers and the hypocrites. But it's really talking about each one of us. The examples which are given for us, that we look inside ourselves and ask, how much of a hypocrite am I? How much of a disbeliever am I? How far am I from what I'm supposed to be? But also reminding ourselves of the immense oceans of rahmah, the compassionate love of our Creator. That no matter how much we fall short, how weak we are, if we are sincere, if we are doing our best to be the best kind of people that we can be, if we are doing our best to overcome our shortcomings and to do some good, then our Creator will always be welcoming us and encouraging us and blessing us. That is the immense rahmah. Like, you've chosen a picture of water on Zoom. It's like oceans of rahmah. But not like Earth's oceans. These oceans go on and on and on. Even our Earth's oceans are vast for us human beings. But our Lord's oceans of love and compassion and forgiveness are vaster than those oceans. vaster than the universe. They are immense, endless oceans. But we have to be intending to do our best. We have to be intending to overcome our shortcomings. And it's not easy. It's not easy in this world where, I mean, a friend of mine, he showed a screenshot to me the other day. He was trying to read Quran on his phone, and an advertisement come up with sexy ads. The Quran app on the phone. He's trying to read the Quran and reflect. This is the times that we live in. It's very testing, even you're doing the right thing. And Shaitan will say, aha, you think you're winning. I've got another trick up my sleeve. This is the way of our time that we're living in. And Allah knows this better than us. Allah knows what each one of us is up against. So don't despair of the mercy of Allah. Never despair of the mercy of Allah. Shaitan is always trying to trick you that you're only going to be burned, that you're only good enough for fuel for the fire. Because every human being has the shadow, as psychologists call it, the shadow. There's the conscious self. There's that side of us which is very logical, reasoning, at least most people. And there's the shadow. There's that dark side of our nature. And no one of you listening to this deny it. It's true. Every single person has it. If we didn't, we wouldn't be here on this earth. We wouldn't be human beings. We would be angels. We wouldn't even come down to this earth. We would be in the heavenly realm. So no one can deny it. It is part of who we are as human beings. And that's the test. The real shaitan is actually that shadow within ourselves, that darker side within ourselves, those evil inclinations, those inclinations that when someone wrongs us, that we want to take vengeance upon them, rather than forgiving them or finding a more amicable, merciful solution. Forgetting, of course, that Allah rewards us when we look for a more compassionate solution to our problems. When even if we have a right to do something, we choose to take a step back and do something not as bad as what we could do. When we choose to go through a legal route or through some kind of, what do you call it? It could be a court, but there's also another route where people can have someone they choose. Arbitration, that's what I'm thinking. Something which is more reasoning, more merciful, more reducing it rather than increasing what you're going to do to the person. Because whenever you do something like that, and even though you maybe in some cases have every right to go and do something which is really vengeful because of what someone's done to you, but you choose to say, no, for the sake of Allah, I'm not going to go down that route. I'm going to do something because you can't just let people get away with things. But at the same time, you choose to take a more moderate approach. Whenever you do that, you will get rewarded by Allah. Because Allah is Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Allah sent the prophets, especially the Prophet Muhammad as the Rahmatil lil Alamin, as compassionate people for all of the world. So when we be more compassionate and forgiving, we are emulating the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. There are many occasions within the Prophet Muhammad's life when he could have done terrible things if he'd been someone else. You look when he went back into Mecca with a huge army of 10,000 people, which at that time Go into a city in the Middle East, that was a huge army. Really outnumbered the Meccans. He could easily have gone in there and just got rid of a lot of them. Especially after everything that they'd done to Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him. They'd done everything they could to destroy him, his family, his community, his religion. The Meccans had done everything they could to destroy Muhammad and Islam and his community. And Medina, not everybody in Medina was a Muslim. Some of them were Jews and Christians, some still pagans. But they'd accepted the Prophet Muhammad as their leader. And they were all in danger. But when the Prophet Muhammad went into Mecca and took it over, he declared a general amnesty. He told people that if they were in their homes, they would be safe, and ordered his soldiers to anyone that was in their homes, and not confronting them, not fighting them, not causing trouble. They are safe. You must not do anything to them. This, wow, I mean, we've had the Geneva Convention since the last century. This is going back over a millennium before the Geneva Convention. And even since the Geneva Convention, not all armies have abided by that. How many hospitals have been bombed or blown up? How many ambulances? How many school buses? But our Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he declared a general amnesty, not only against people that were doctors or teachers or farmers, but people who'd actually fought him and his family and his community and his followers and tried to exterminate them from existence in whichever way they could. But he didn't go down that road. And because of it, many of them embraced Islam. Many of them embraced Islam because they realized that his way was better, even if they didn't fully understand it. They could see it's a better way. And what comes of all this destruction? And this, I'm just using one example, in this case, vengeance. But everybody has that darker side to their nature. And everybody slips up sometimes. So it's important we don't think that because of that, that we have no place in the sight of Allah. That we're only fuel for the fire. This is the trick that Shaitan uses. Or one of them. He wants you to become demoralized and depressed. He wants you to hate yourself. Don't do it. Don't give him an inch. Just do your best to pick yourself back up. Make wudu or ghusl. Read some namaz. Read Quran. As Rumi said, even if you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come again. Ours is not a caravan of despair. You know, Shaitan's caravan is the caravan of despair, not our way. Shaitan is the one that wants you to despair, to be demoralized, to think that there's no way out. So don't let him. Because he doesn't have any power over you unless what you give to him. So don't give him that power. On Ramadan, as I was originally saying, Ramadan is a really good time to be able to focus on our spirituality. Because This is the holy month when the Quran was revealed. This is one of the most special months within Islam. But it's not just about eating or not eating. You know, I see so many people, they think Ramadan it's about starving yourself. Actually, it's about regulating what you eat within a day. Because if you look at most people who fast during Ramadan, in iftar, they eat as much as what they would have ate during the day anyway, sometimes more. It's not the best way of doing it. Better to try and eat a bit less. It's actually not good if you haven't eaten for many hours to stuff your face, because you can actually create problems with your digestion and stuff. But a lot of people, they eat a similar amount during Ramadan to what they would eat normally. They just eat it during the iftar. So it's not about starving yourself. What Ramadan is really about is yourself, actually, your own place within reality, your spirituality. It's about centering yourself, becoming more, what we would say in English, God conscious, which is taqwa. It's developing that taqwa, developing that God consciousness. Whether you're in the mosque or the supermarket or the park or your home. A lot of people during this Ramadan are still going to be at home, or they won't be going to the mosque much because there's a lot of social distancing in place, even where the mosques are open. So you won't get as much opportunity to go to the mosque, like similar to last year. But Allah is not in the mosque. Not that Allah isn't in the mosque, but Allah is not only in the mosque. Allah is everywhere. Allah doesn't live in a house. Sometimes you can feel closest to Allah when you're sitting on a mountain or in a forest or next to a trickling stream. Certainly I do. I feel tranquility in those locations. And I feel the presence of my Lord more strongly. There's a long tradition, actually, of Sufis that went out into the wilderness, including the teacher of my first Sheikh, Sufi Abdullah. His Sheikh Zindapir went to the mountains in northern Pakistan. And they still have a center there now. But when he went there, there was no center. It was just a mountain with a cave. And he went there and dedicated himself to Allah. A lot of people go into the natural world. I know when Sheikh Badshah visits, he tends to travel to the Lake District, or he used to. He enjoyed it there. And I can understand why, because, you know, with the lakes, the trees, the natural environment, you're not so distracted. Whereas the normal worldly side of things, which you find in cities, it's very dirty. There's all sorts of distractions, all sorts of things which keep you away from yourself, never mind Allah. How much time do you spend with yourself? The real you. Or how much time are you thinking about your work, or what you're going to buy from the shop, or some music you're listening to? I'm not against music, but, you know, just to point it out. Or TV programs, or we're all like that. Every one of us today, in this, especially in this 21st century, with everything at the touch of a button. We're all like that. So how much time do you spend with yourself? And sometimes the easiest way to do that is actually go for a walk in the park or in the countryside. Put the phone away. Put it on silent or vibrate so it doesn't distract you as much. And just take in the nature, take in the natural surroundings. Because you're in a purer environment, and when you're in a purer environment, you're going to feel closer to Allah. Because you don't have all these dunya distractions. The shaitan struggles to distract you in these sorts of places, but not in an urban environment, and not when you're all plugged in to the internet and goodness knows what. And I'm not against any of these things. You know, we have to live in this time. We're living in the 21st century. We're living in a time where most of us live in cities, or at least urban areas of some description. Whereas a century or more ago, most people lived in the countryside. It's not the case anymore. Most of us live in cities. Babylon, some people might say. Babylon was the first city, wasn't it? Or one of them. Famous one. A lot of distractions and darkness in that city too. And Prophet Daniel, he struggled when he was there, but overcome. So most of us live in cities today, but at the same time, the countryside is accessible to us. We can travel out there, we can spend time, and even in cities, they often have parks, streams, rivers. Okay, depending on your city, depends on how well looked after they are. Sometimes they might not be so clean in some countries, but you know, we have these places, and we should make better use of them, for not just for just going out to walk the dog or something, but you know, actually to feel more in touch with who we are as a human being, and in touch with the natural world that surrounds us. Breathe the air. Look at the birds, look at the sky, look at the trees, look at how things are growing. I mean, in this country now it's spring, everything's literally springing back to life after sleeping for the winter. Not every country has pronounced seasons like this, but there will be something like that. A time when certain things happen. Take it in, absorb it. These are all gifts from Allah that most people just walk past these days and don't appreciate. Learn to appreciate them, and you will feel more connection with Allah. And while you're doing that, it's taking your mind off other things, which are perhaps not so good for you. Even it's good to like sit somewhere in a park or forest or by a stream or something and read some zikr or something like this. Find it very beneficial. So Allah is not in a mosque, Allah is everywhere. And it's important to remember that, especially when the mosques are closed or they're only open on a more restricted basis, or if you're in a country where there's not too many people that have been vaccinated yet, and COVID is still quite rampant, and so you're deliberately avoiding crowded spaces, regardless what the legislation is or the guidelines. So when these are the kind of situations that people are in, it's good to remember that you can connect with Allah anywhere. But if you find it difficult, then a quieter place often helps. I mean, even if you can't get out to these sort of places, a quiet room where you're not going to get distracted, that can help. Anyway, I think we better start the dhikr. But yeah, I hope that's useful, inshallah. Just thinking the points I could have covered, but okay. Before we start the dhikr, we check our intentions. نويت العابين، نويت الحسنى، نويت القوة، نويت الاعتكاف، نويت السلوك، نويت الريادة لله تعالى في هذا جميل. I intend to perform the 40 days of retreat. I intend to retreat in isolation. I intend to retreat in solitude. I intend to perform the retreats. I intend to follow the path. I intend to perform the spiritual practices for Allah the highest in this place of worship. Worship your Lord until He grants you certainty. O Allah, make this our endeavor easy for us and grant us success in that which you love and which pleases you. Make us to be followers of your most noble Sharia and your beloved and chosen Prophet. Ameen. Peace be upon all emissaries, especially the master of emissaries, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. We begin with the Kalama Shahada, declaration of faith. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his servant and messenger. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Seek Allah's forgiveness by reciting Astaghfirullah, which literally means I ask Allah's forgiveness. Astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah. أستغفر العظيم الذي لا إله إلا الله هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه إنه هو التواب الرحيم. يا مصبيب الأسباب، يا مفاتيح الأبواب، يا مقلب القلوب والأبصار، يا ذو العيد المتخيرين، يا خير المستغفرين، يا حي يا قيوم، يا ذو الجلال والإكرام، وأفوض أمري الله إن الله بصير بالعباد. Rabbi Tasharifa, direct your heart to the heart of your Sheikh, the spiritual guide. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين Salawat on the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم 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 أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن من اليسرى إن من اليسرى فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن من اليسرى إن من اليسرى فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن من اليسرى إن من اليسرى فإذا فرغت فانصب إلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن من اليسرى إن من اليسرى فإذا فرغت فانصب إلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن من اليسرى إن من اليسرى فإذا فرغت فانصب إلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن من اليسرى إن من اليسرى فإذا فرغت فانصب إلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن من اليسرى إن من اليسرى فإذا فرغت فانصب إلى ربك فارغب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله السلام عليكم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم 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 اللهم صل على محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم 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 أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي أعطيتني من الملك ولمتني من تولي حديث فاتر السماوات والأرض أنت ولي في الدنيا والآخرة توفاني مسلما ولكني بالصالحين أمان بالله صدق الله العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين إلى الشرف نبي وآل وأصحابه الكرام وإلى الله أنبياء والمرسلين وكل ما يشرعهم وإلى إمات أبواب وإلى مشايخنا بذلك نقشبندي عليها كستان عليك وجهان الفاتحة بسم الله عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم فلمنه لا إله إلا الله 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 محمد رسول الله حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم إلا الشرف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى وأصحابه الكرام وإلى الله سيسرتنا وسلكيون الفاتحة بسم الله. Remembrance of God in Arabic, Allah. Allah, 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 Allah. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Who Hawk, 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 hawk. Hey, 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 hey. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الله الله حق، 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 الله الله حق. Allahu Allah Hak, Allahu Allah Hak, Allahu Allah Hak, Allahu Allah Hak, Allahu Allah Hay, 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 Allahu Allah Hay. Allahu Allah Hay, Allahu Allah Hay, Allahu Allah Hay, Allahu Allah Hay, Allah Hay Ya Qayyum, 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 Allah Hay Ya Qayyum. Allah Hay Ya Qayyum, Allah Hay Ya Qayyum, Allah Hay Ya Qayyum, Allah Hay Ya Qayyum, Allah Hay Ya Qayyum. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel wa la quwwata illa billahi al-'aliyyil 'azim. Now we call upon some of the beautiful names of Allah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Allah, Yahu, Ya Daim. Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Allah. Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Allah. Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Allah. Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Allah. Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Allah. Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Allah. Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Allah. Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Allah. Ya Grafa, Ya Grafu, Ya Grafa, Ya Grafu, Ya Grafa, Ya Grafu, Ya Grafa, Ya Grafu, Ya Sata, Ya Fata, Ya Sata, Ya Fata, Ya Sata, Ya Fata, Ya Sata, Ya Fata. Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Allah. Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Allah. Ya Muin, Ya Muin, Ya Muin, Ya Allah. Ya Muin, Ya Muin, Ya Muin, Ya Allah. Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Allah. Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Allah. Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Allah. Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Allah. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim. Ya Hanan, Ya Manan, Ya Hanan, Ya Manan, Ya Hanan, Ya Manan, Ya Hanan, Ya Manan, Ya Dayan, Ya Subhan, Ya Dayan, Ya Subhan, Ya Dayan, Ya Subhan, Ya Dayan, Ya Subhan. Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Allah. Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Allah. Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Allah. Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. صلوات وسوير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم. 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 اللهم صل على محمد وعلى Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Ali Muhammadin wa salim. صلي ربي وسلم على جميع أنبياء ومرسلين وعلى كل أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. على أشرف نبينا سيدنا محمد الصلوات وعلى أفضل نبينا سيدنا محمد الصلوات على أكمل نبينا سيدنا محمد الصلوات صلوات الله وبركاته وأنبيائه ورسوله وجميع كوكي الله محمد وعلى آل محمد عليه وعليه السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته ورضي الله تبارك وتعالى عن سيدنا شعبي رسول الله أجمعين وأن يتبعنا بهم بإحسان وأن مجتهدين يوم الدين وأن علماء المتقين وأن أولياء الصالحين وأما الشياكين أفتنك نقشبنديات آلية كرسنا وهم الزكية ونوتنا أجرات مباركة ودلاوة الذين من بركاتهم وفيوداتهم دائما والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. O Allah, shower your blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad and his noble family, his noble ancestors and his noble descendants, and upon all the prophets and their noble ancestors and their noble descendants, and especially upon the household of the prophets, Imams Ali, Hassan, Hussein, Zain al-Abidin, Jafar Sadiq, all of the Ahlul Bayt, the Sahaba Ikram, the Khilafa Rashidin, the Ulama, the Uliya, and especially my Sheikhs, Sufi Abdullah and Mulana Sheikh Nazim. Ya Allah, raise their stations in your divine presence and bless their souls for all eternity. Ya Allah, bless also Sheikh Sharif Hidayatullah, all of the Wali Songo, Sheikh Yusuf, Sheikh Adang Badruddin, and my beloved father. And Ya Allah, raise their stations in your divine presence and bless their souls for all eternity. O Allah, bless my mom, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, grant them to be in the best of health and well-being. Grant them renewed health and well-being. Grant them the best of this life and the best of the hereafter. Grant them to be under your guidance, support, and your divine protection. Oh Allah, bless my brother and my sister, my brothers and sisters-in-law, and all of my nieces and nephews. And grant them to be under your divine protection and blessing. Grant them your divine support and guidance. Grant them hidayat. Oh Allah, shower your blessings, especially upon my beloved wife and our children, and grant our family to be under your divine protection and support. Grant us forgiveness for any sins which we commit. Grant us to always be guided and not to be misguided after we've become guided. Grant my children to be inspired and guided by Islam and not to stray too far from it. Ya Allah, grant us to all be in good health and well-being. Oh Allah, bless all of my friends, especially those friends who've been with me through difficult times, especially Sheikh Robin and Nisha and their families, especially Sheikh Amran and his family, Sheikh Hisham Kabani and his family, Sheikh Mohammed Adil and his family, Sheikh Amin and his family, Sheikh Dawood and his family, Mohammed Abbasi and his family, Dr. Khurshid and his family, Sukanda and his family, Davinda and his family, Todd and his family. Ya Allah, bless all of my friends. Bless Alex and his family, Nahid and her family, Hifsa and her family. Bless all of my friends. And however people are connected to me, whether it be through the Naqshbandi tariqat, or the Association of British Muslims, or Nadatul Ulama, or any of my interfaith and intrafaith networks, or social media, however people are connected to me, let this be a connection between them and my sheikhs, and through my sheikhs and their sheikhs, through the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, that this be a connection through adab to your divine presence, and a means of blessing and support for all of my friends, and for their families and their communities, and everybody they come into contact with, and everyone in our human family, and all of the communities of life which we share this earth with. Ya Allah, bless everybody, bless all of them. And forgive us all. We are created weak. You told us this in the Quran. Forgive us for our shortcomings. Guide us, support us. Hold us up when we fall down. Bless our families. Bless our human family. Inspire us to do good in this world, to make the world a better place, and inspire us to do what is good for our hereafter. For the sake of your beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa barik wa salim. Salli Rabbi wa salim ala jami anbiyahi wa mursalin wa alinkurin ajma'in wa alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. إلى حضرات النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وآله وصحبه الكرام وإلى أنبياء وإلى أولياء كستاني روحي شاه نقشبند وإلى الشيخ عبد الله فايز داغستاني وإلى زندبيا وإلى الصوفي عبد الله وإلى مولانا الشيخ نازي وإلى الشيخ دانك بدرودين وإلى غوستو وإلى الشيخ هشام كباني وإلى الشيخ بادشاه وإلى الشيخ حبيب الله وإلى الشيخ داود وإلى الشيخ محمد وإلى الشيخ نور وإلى سائر سادتنا والصديقيون. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. Salam alaikum. I'll close it there unless there's any questions. But I will obviously continue to do these dhikrs through Ramadan for anybody who wishes to tune in on Instagram or Facebook, or you can look for the Zoom link on Facebook if you want to join me on Zoom as well. And afterwards, I upload the videos to YouTube. So there's a collection on YouTube. One playlist is Sohbet and the other one is Friday Reflections. I'll be back tomorrow for Friday Reflections, inshallah. And I wish you all a good evening. If you're in the UK and elsewhere in the world, I wish you have a good day. If you find these videos useful, please don't forget to subscribe to whichever channels that you watch them on. Salam alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.